The following podcast has been rated PGN. Parental guidance is neglected.
Boy, it's been a long time since we've had a little father-son chat.
I am your father.
Father, if you can hear me, I failed.
Don't let your mother smell that beer on your breath. She'll take it out on me.
I'm here with my dad.
I know what you're gonna say, son. And you're right. You're right.
Who is your daddy and what does he do?
I've abandoned my boy!
It's the PGN podcast, everybody. Welcome aboard. I am your co-host, Regan Burns, along with my son, Jackson Burns, where we come to you every... Do we come every week? Sometimes we come twice a week.
We try to.
Sometimes we come bi-monthly. I don't know. It depends on... We've had technical glitches. We've had moving in and out of the house. I don't know. Should we be?
It's been an eventful couple of weeks.
We're like a treasure. If you find if you can find us, if you can find a new episode, you've discovered
That's
the
a good
treasure. We're a scavenger hunt.
I like that.
Podcast. I'm going to apologize right off the bat. Jackson and I were talking about this before we hit record. We had some technical difficulties last week with our audio. I listened back to last week's episode because I always like to take notes on things that Jackson got wrong and then throw them in his
very
face.
Short list.
Yeah,
very short list.
I do. I sent an email like, hey, could you work on your cadence and could you try to be more engaging or energetic? So on. But our audio, at least for me, I sounded like I was in a tunnel and you were literally at a rock concert just blaring. So who knows exactly what it is, but we're on top of it. We're going to make sure the sound quality is going to be perfect this week. You're not going to have to turn Jackson down, or unless you want to mute him. That's always a possibility. In fact, I think we're going to be releasing some edited versions of our podcast where it's going to
be two separate podcasts.
Podcasts where you just hear my thoughts in one, and you can elect to turn Jackson off
to include me if you feel the need. Yeah.
If you feel the need here at the Parental Guidance Neglected podcast, two generations talking about movies, TV, life, whatever. Movies mostly. Since you are you're a film student, how is film school going this week? You're into week 3 of the fall semester, is that right?
I'm into week 3. Yeah, it's going good. It's going good. Things are starting to pick up a little bit. Trying to find some work here and there on sets and things. I've got a couple classes that require being on set, so I'm trying to figure all that out. Yeah.
Well, now when you say a class requires you to be on set, is there like, Jackson, if you could go out and get onto a movie set this week, we need you to do that to pass the class, and then you have to go like just find a film set? I mean, how do
so the way it works is that for my audio techniques class, my sound design class, they send out a big master document of all of the junior projects that are being worked on, and you just write your name down for whichever one sounds interesting to you, and then you just work as a sound guy on that set. So it's kind of just it's like implied that if you're in the class, you're going to eventually work on a student project as like a sound guy, or for like cinematography class, you'd be doing cinematography,
right?
Things like that. I'll probably have a smaller job though, just like holding the boom mic or something, because obviously you would never want to have a first year sound student being in charge of
the entire
making your film sound good. So
yeah, that's a wrap. That's a wrap, guys. I think we nailed it. I think that's 12 days in the can, and we got it. Jackson, how's the sound? And you're like, oh
shit, were we recording?
Were we supposed to record those 12 days?
Embarrassing.
Hey, on a more important note, not that this isn't a great story, what the hell is hanging out of your ear? What is that? What is that getting longer and longer? What's going on with your earring over there?
Oh, it's just an earring. It's just my earring.
Well, okay. Wait, hold on now. Okay, we started. I'm not going to pull a dad on you. Well, a little bit. We started.
It sounds like you're about to pull a dad on me.
We started with a stud. Okay, you got the ears pierced. You got both of them pierced, and you got the stud.
Well, this was always the end goal. It's just that when you get your ears pierced, you're not supposed to have anything but a stud in your ear because it's not healthy.
Okay, but
you have to wait 6 months.
All right. So how long is this chain link fence that you're running down the side of your face? How long is that going to get? Because it looks like we're getting down to 1.5 inches now.
This is as long as it'll get. That's it.
It's not going to start smacking on your shoulder or anything, or
no. I don't think so. This is comfortable length for me.
You're not going to have those, like, there's those earrings where it's like half the alphabet, like A to G on one side and like H to Z on the other. And like, have you seen those? Like, it's all the letters hanging in a row.
I have seen those, yeah. I don't think I'm going to do that, no.
Okay.
I'm just going to get those really big gauges so my ears just get really big loops.
I have told you on many occasions, you can do whatever you want to your ears as long as you don't put those ridiculous holes in your ears.
I would never do that. I hate that look so much. It just screams tacky to me.
It's so tacky, and you're eventually going to have big droopy holy. It's so gross when they come out. It's just,
it's not for my thing.
Yeah.
Not for me.
Okay, don't, please, dear God, please.
You do not have to worry about that.
Okay. Okay. I didn't think you would have dangly earrings either, and yet here we are. So I'm just saying, don't take it to its next progression. Don't become that guy.
It's not. Don't be that guy.
All right. Jackson's been busy at school, so I actually took up the reins this week and saw a lot of films. Just because, I don't know, I had some downtime and I was a little bit behind. Hey, here's an observation, and we'll talk about some of the films that I saw this week. The three that I saw, well, actually the four, including the one that you did, they were all kind of smaller films, kind of art house movies. And I've heard so much lately that the only thing that's getting made anymore are like big superhero Marvel movies. Like everyone's like, oh, great movies. The age of cinema is dead. No one's afraid to make any, films that aren't, Fast and the Furious or Top Gun Maverick. I feel like there's still a lot of really small, low-budget independent film getting made. I don't know why everyone keeps saying film is dead. I don't know if these films are doing great, but they're still being made.
I think it's a dumb complaint, and I think that people have been saying that for years too. I feel like everyone's always been like, oh, like you always have. I don't know. I mean,
there's always been fluffy movies in the theater. I mean, even in the what a lot of people call the prime movie era, the 70s, when everyone was experimenting, there was still fluff out there. There was still Herbie the Love Bug and, dumb comedies and beach blanket bingo. And
right.
I mean, there's always been, big, fluffy, forgettable things. But I mean,
I think the complaint has become like, when it comes to like major huge budget films, those seem to be less original. Like there hasn't been like, I feel like at least this year so far, there hasn't been like a big budget like Godfather type movie where it's like everyone goes to see it.
Right.
It's like a massive, like this is a staple of Everything Everywhere All at Once did make waves, but it wasn't,
Right. But it's always been like that. It's the films that win the Oscars are hardly ever big blockbusters.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah,
with the exception of like Titanic, or something that crosses into mainstream. Recently you've had films like Roma, and Moonlight, and Coda, and Parasite. Films that are winning. These aren't big, huge blockbuster films. I mean, every once in a while you get a Silence of the Lambs where it's a huge, massive hit with everybody and it also wins critical acclaim. But I don't know. I saw a lot of really good films this week, and I thought, I don't understand why everyone's saying that cinema's dead. I think people, and again, I live in Los Angeles, so some of these movies are more readily available.
That's a good point.
I don't know if, you're in Houston, Texas, and like your choice is Maverick or Maverick. I mean, maybe, they don't get a lot of these smaller films, but yeah. I don't know. I'm encouraged that there's some good stuff out there.
Is Maverick still playing in theaters?
Maverick was the #1 movie 2 weeks ago.
God, just shoot me in the face. I'm so just sorry for this to be over.
I know. I hear you. I understand. Just deep breaths. And with that said, you have to admit, it's not a bad film. I know it's not your thing, but as far as that kind of movie goes, it was really good. for what it was. You have to.
I have a lot of complaints. I understand why it's popular. I have a lot of complaints, but we've been over that.
Yeah, we won't go over it ad nauseum.
Yeah.
So you know what? Why don't I just run down them, and then we'll get to our the stuff that we saw this week. I'll let you know I saw 3 films that Jackson did not get a chance to. I finally caught up and saw Breaking. That was a movie by writer-director Abby Damaris Corbin. I think her first feature debut, written and directed by her. If you've seen the trailers or haven't heard of it, it's John Boyega. He was Finn in the Star Wars reboots. Connie Britton and the late, great Michael K. Williams, who will always be Omar in The Wire for me. He just passed, I think, last year. It's a true story of a Marine vet going through some PTSD who ends up taking a bank and some of its employees hostage because he can't seem to get his check from the Veterans Department. It is not a perfect film, but man, hey Jackson, John Boyega, he's the real deal. He's really good.
He's great. I've always loved John Boyega. He's fantastic.
This is one worth seeing for him. It's not exactly a pick-me-up, and it's a true story that doesn't end the way you want it to. I saw another great performance movie. Again, not a fantastic film, but really worth the performance, and that's God's Country. That stars Thandie Newton. She's from Westworld. She was in Crash, which was a notorious film that won the Oscar and shouldn't have. It's a tale of a college professor getting over the death of her mother, and she's living out in a cabin, isolated in the woods, and some hunters trespass on her property one day. Of course.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Of course, she's an African American woman in a somewhat southern racist town, and things escalate. Again, not a perfect movie. Interesting ending, but again, what a performance by Thandie Newton. So that's 2 great performances I saw this week, if not slightly flawed films. And then your mother and I saw See How They Run yesterday. You had to know this was coming, Jackson. There's going to be a lot of murder mysteries. This is I mean, obviously Knives Out was huge, and they just released the trailer.
Oh yeah.
Just released the trailer for Glass Onion, which is the sequel to Knives Out. So the studios are pumping these out. Now, with that said, this is a period piece murder mystery. It's kind of a murder mystery set in the world of an Agatha Christie play, The Mousetrap. So it's kind of a murder mystery within a murder mystery.
Cool.
It's pretty cut and dry, but I will tell you this, because the stars, Sam Rockwell and Saoirse Ronan, are so good together. They have great chemistry. Adrian Brody is also very good in this.
Adrian Brody's good in everything.
Yeah, he's good. And so this is one of those murder mysteries where you go, okay, someone's doing another Knives Out, but their performances kind of elevate it as well. It's pretty light. It's pretty fluffy. A little predictable. You're going to figure out probably who it is, the murderer, but don't tell anyone. Pretty early. But so 3 films that I think were all fairly decent movies, but the performances, Sam Rockwell, Saoirse Ronan, Thandie Newton, and John Boyega really elevate these films. So right across the board, I'm giving all 3 of them a B. So
okay, interesting.
Yeah,
all right.
But it made
pretty
me
successful week.
It made me think that like I saw these 3 smaller films. They were all very good. They're not classics. They're not A's, but really good acting, good directing, well written. And everyone's complaining. It's like I have to constantly listen to my son.
Right.
And everything's Maverick.
I'm not that guy. I've never been that guy.
No.
I mean, I don't like them, but I don't diss them, and I still do enjoy a lot of the Marvel films. I think that people get way too bullshitty about. I mean, they're not all fantastic, but there's some really great ones.
I'm getting a little burnt on the Wakanda Forever trailer, though. They gotta either put that to bed, or maybe it's because we go to the movies all the time. But I'm like, if I hear no woman, no cry, I'm like, oh, here we go again. And I know it's
gonna be all right.
Wakanda Forever. I mean, the trailer's cool, but All right, release the damn thing already. I don't think we need to see the trailer 800 times. Those are kind of my three smaller films. Why don't we go ahead and get Jackson's pretentious art house corner out of the way?
Let's do it. Okay.
We have to get music for this. We have to have a theme song, like Jackson's pretentious art house corner or something like that. Where we hear, we hear about 3 to 17 films that you watch this week that no one's ever heard of, no one will ever see.
I only watched 2.
2? That's pretty good
this
for
week.
You. Oh, you must have.
And one of them
you've
seen, and I know you like. The first one I saw was Adaptation, written by Charlie Kaufman, directed by Spike Jonze. I'm a really big Charlie Kaufman guy. I love Schenectady, New York. I love Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Being John
I also
Malkovich.
think he's done a lot of and being John Malkovich. I also think he's done a lot of crap. I really was not a big fan of I'm Thinking of Ending Things.
Yeah.
One of the most confusing.
That's the one with the two kids in
over the top.
That's the one with they're in the car, right? Like the first hour of the movie is them driving to their parents'
house. And David
house.
Thewlis is in it for like a second, but he's aging at a rapid pace, and there's like pigs and dancing in a school. Big miss for me, but this is a movie with Nicolas Cage in it about Charlie Kaufman writing a movie.
Is Meryl Streep in that as well?
Meryl Streep is
Yeah, I loved it.
I really liked the first half. The second half really fell off for me. I wanted it to be more about Charlie Kaufman writing, and it kind of turned into more of like a little goofy thing, which is fine. I still really enjoyed it. Just didn't stick the landing for me. I think I'd give it a 7 if I had to.
Okay.
I thought Nicolas Cage was really good at Charlie Kaufman impression.
Yeah.
So that was the first movie. The second movie I saw it's the second highest movie rated on Letterboxd, right behind Parasite. It's a film called Come and See.
Come and See. Is that a foreign film?
It is. It's Russian.
Right. This is you're dabbling into. You got tired of Japanese and
British
films, and you're moving on to Russian now. Okay.
So
what are those crazy Russians up to?
Come and See tells the story of a Belarusian child during World War II who was forced to fight for the Russian forces during World War II. It takes place over the course of like 2 or 3 days. I have never in my life seen a more dark and depressing. Like this is the most bleak war movie I've seen in my entire life. It's just you watch this poor kid go through the most excruciating, like watching his family die in front of him, having to kill. I mean, the ending is just unbelievable. Just one of those. It's one of those movies where you it ends and you just can't say anything because it was just so much. And the fact that these things actually happen is just that crazy. The directing was unbelievable. The child actor was probably the best performance I've seen from a kid ever. I mean, his face. There's so many close-ups of his face, and you watch the war show on his face.
Better than Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone 2.
It's close. It's close for me, but it's like Macaulay Culkin, and then it's like guy from Come and See right here.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
Did you bring a date to this movie? Did you drag some poor innocent girl to this? Okay, thank God.
I saw it by myself, but it's a 10 out of 10. It's
10.
It's really
it's
I
haven't
it's
seen
one
it.
of those movies too where I it's not like I know that when I say like Russian film, you think of like artsy and stuff. It's really just like it's this kid who's just trying to. He goes from like I can't even explain it because it's not going to do it justice. But it's one of the most dark and bleak looks into war from a child's perspective.
Did you see this in a theater or did you just download it and watch it on your laptop?
I saw it on I watched it on the TV in my living room.
Got it. And did anyone else watch it with you?
People came in and out while I was watching it.
So they would come in, they would start watching it, and then they would leave quickly.
Well, yeah, but they didn't start it with me too, so they're kind of like, "What is? Like, I don't understand what's happening." I'm like, "Yeah, you missed the first half."
Well, they don't speak Russian. They don't speak Russian. So how?
They also don't speak Russian.
Yeah,
well, it's captioned, so.
Oh, they do that. I forgot they do that.
They do that.
Did you watch it dubbed or did you watch it with subtitles?
No, I watched it subtitled. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't think there is a dub, but yeah, one of the most impressive directorial.
Okay,
films I've seen,
so a really, really attractive girl starts flirting with you, Jackson. You're at a party. Let's say you got dragged to one of those fraternity parties, and you're like, oh my God, I just look at these guys. I can't handle these douchey whatever. But you met a girl there, and she seems really nice, and you hit it off. And you're just talking, and you're like, hey, maybe we should get together. I'm a film student. Maybe we can go see a movie this weekend. And she goes, oh my God, that'd be so great. I am dying to see Maverick. I just really want to. And then you go, Maverick? And she's like, well, I've already seen it once, but I really, really want to see it again. And then you're like, but there is this Russian film about a kid forced into a labor camp.
I will never watch that movie again. There's no way I could never do that.
Right. But let's say you hadn't seen it. So, really cute girl. You hit it off, but she's the kind of girl who goes, I really don't want to watch that Russian thing with you, even though you're excited. I really want to go see Maverick again. And if not, we don't have to see Maverick. We can see Dragon Ball.
Oh no! Oh my God!
What do you do? What do you do with your film student side? Do you put that aside?
I'm going. I would go see Maverick.
Will love conquer your movie snobness? Is what I'm trying to
I would
ask.
go see Maverick, but I have a personal philosophy where I never change my opinions or how I feel about things for other people. So I would make it known that if she was like, what do you think about the movie? I'd be like, I didn't like it.
Right.
I didn't like it.
Right. And she's like,
I'm
what?
sorry. I'll go see it with you.
She's
don't worry.
What? You didn't? What about?
But I didn't like it.
What about the part where he was flying?
No, it was it's really good. Shot very well. I didn't like it.
Oh, it's so fun. And then, and then Iceman shows up.
Don't you just love Rooster?
Cried. I did, yeah, Rooster. Oh my God, Rooster. And then Rooster sings in a bar. No, you're not gonna. That's not gonna. Yeah,
it's not
That's not the future Mrs. Jackson Burns, or
I don't think so. No.
Wow. People sometimes marry people they don't even agree with politically. You can't marry someone that you just disagree with on movies.
No, I can't. I'm not saying I wouldn't do that. I'm just saying I wouldn't censor myself to make them feel better about their bad movie taste.
What if you married someone and her biggest enjoyment in films is whenever a new Medea movie came out?
Oh, jeez.
She was like, Jackson, look, it's a very Medea Valentine.
You're never going to believe this. Medea's going to the zoo. No.
Medea takes on Paris. And you had to go see this.
Yeah, it would be rough.
Could love
it's
conquer
a scale
that?
of things. It's so funny you mentioned this because someone was talking the other day and they were like, "What's one of your biggest pet peeves when it comes to relationships, or people? Okay. You heard someone say an ick you get where it's someone brings it up,
right.
And it's people who are overly obsessed with Disney,
yeah,
Disney people,
yeah,
oof.
Creepy Disney people.
Oh yeah.
People who are wearing their Disney ears and they're not even at the park.
Oh man, it's wow, that's bold. That's
and
bold
then
of you.
You see some of them that are glittered out and all. And it's that cost them $75 or something, and they're like, oh yeah, but this is the collector's ears. This is the collector's edition.
No, this is
It's a bedazzled.
Walt Disney kissed these ears.
Yeah, Donald Duck signed this while I was in line at Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh man, but
Disney, and we've known a few Disney people creep me out too.
Yeah.
Well, let me preface that: Disney people who are adults and don't even have kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can see
you don't have a reason to really be there except that just that's your life.
You have a season pass and you have no offspring. You need to be fixed and kept from procreating if you are a Disney
I
season pass holder with no children.
Second that 100%.
Yeah. With that said, you are not that far from Disneyland, and you don't ever go.
No, I'm 5 minutes.
Not even your friends. Do your friends ever? Are they like, hey man, let's go to Disneyland? And
not really. I think they threw it out once. A lot of them go on the week they move in because their parents want to go, or they'll go with their parents and stuff as a family event.
Right.
But it's never because we're broke. It's what?
That's true.
It's so much money for just a day of waiting in line.
Yeah.
For a mediocre ride.
Right.
If we wanted to go somewhere and like have actual fun, there are more places we can go that just didn't involve that much money. So
yeah. And you're spoiled since for years we went there free and didn't have to wait in lines.
It's not the same.
Yeah,
it's not the same anymore.
It's just not the. Yeah,
it's not worth it.
It's lost its magic. And we can do other. We can do other things. We live in LA. There's much more exciting things to do. We like comedy shows. We like concerts, music.
Adult things.
Adult things. And speaking of music here on the PGN podcast, we did get out to the theater. I got out, obviously, a few times, but we did both get out. We were both very excited. This is my first time. I'm trying to think. This is my first time in an IMAX theater.
It's been a while for me, too.
Yeah. Did we see Maverick in IMAX? I don't think so. No. I feel like the last time I don't like going to an IMAX theater unless I know the film was shot in IMAX.
Yeah, there's no
or
point.
made for IMAX. Yeah. When it's not shot on IMAX cameras and they transfer it, I just feel like the screen's been blown up a little bit and it's not quite as clear.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but we both went out and saw what I am not going to call a documentary. I am going to call more of a musical voyage through the life and work of David Bowie. This is called Moonage Daydream. It's probably only playing in select cities across the country, hopefully one near you if you're not near LA, Chicago, or New York. But it is, without spoiling too much, it is well worth seeking out. This is director Brett Morgan's 4-year pet project, I should say. He worked his ass off of this, actually suffered a heart attack during the making of it.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Brett Morgan, probably best known for a documentary called The Kid Stays in the Picture about famous music producer, was it Robert Townsend? I believe.
I'm not sure. I haven't seen it. But,
yeah, the guy who did Chinatown.
I know he does a lot of his thing is music documentaries.
Yeah, he did one. I know he's done one on. He did one on Kurt Cobain and. He did a documentary on Jane Goodall, the chick who hangs out with the apes and all that. I don't know why I called her a chick.
Oh, really? That's so interesting.
You're right. I'm going to get hate mail because I called her a chick. She's more brilliant than I would ever be. But no, this is kind of his foray. But documentaries in the past probably haven't looked quite like this. I think one of the most interesting aspects of the film, and one of the most disappointing, is that if you don't know a lot about David Bowie, I don't know if you really learn a lot about the man himself in this particular project. It is very interesting in that the only narration in the film is David Bowie, so we never hear the words of anyone else unless it's a taped interview where they're asking him a question. But all of the voiceover work is stuff lifted from interviews from Bowie himself. There are some incredible musical performances in this movie. I was also very excited that, look, some of the standards are there. You got Heroes, you have All the Young Dudes, you've got Space Oddity, but a lot of really little-known gems were thrown in here. I loved the take on Love Me Do, the Beatles song that's in there. Obviously, Moonage Daydream is in, Rock and Roll With Me. My favorite is the last one of this film, a great little-known song called Hello Space Boy, which was by far the best, the last musical performance in the film, and I thought it was just fantastic, even though it was later in his career. A lot of the stuff from the earlier stuff, Ziggy, I had seen some of before, but it was great to see it with a new mix and up on the big screen. If you go in expecting all the hits, Fame, Fashion, Rebel, Changes, didn't touch on them, and I don't think it really missed that. I think it had enough of the songs that we have, we didn't need a retrospective of his greatest hits necessarily. There's, again, and I'll let you talk about it a bit, Jackson. I think for someone who doesn't know as much about Bowie as I think I should, the fact that they don't even mention his first wife, there's no mention of his children. There's nothing about the Spiders from Mars, his band, who during all these performances are an integral part of it. So I don't know if you're going to learn a lot about David Bowie, but man, if you don't walk away appreciating the artistry or the fact that we lost someone that incredible, we're on different wavelengths. What do you think, buddy?
So I think one of the first questions I had when I was watching it was, I guess I had two questions.
Yeah.
The first was, who was the audience for this movie? Like, who was this movie made for?
David Bowie fans.
You think?
I think so.
I almost disagree.
Really?
Well, I do agree. I think that it's made for David Bowie fans who didn't get a chance to know David Bowie.
Okay.
Because at least for me, the movie starts, right, and it kind of opens in like he's coming on stage. He's Ziggy Stardust. It's in that very early era where he has kind of like the red hair and the kind of the mullet thing going. The
first hour is pretty much all concentrated on the Ziggy years in the 70s.
But I don't know. So I don't know what happened. Like he started singing, and it was just this amazing performance is happening, and the narration's going on, and I got really emotional. Like right in like the first 10 minutes of the movie, I was just like, wow, like this is, I don't know. I think that was the first question, was who is this made for? And I really do think it was made for people like me who really didn't get a chance to know David Bowie for who David Bowie was.
Right.
And the second question was, what is this movie about? Like, what is this trying to say? And I do think that it was less about the life of it, like the life that he lived around him, and more about the way that he lived his life through his music. Because most of it was centered around like his philosophy of life and the way that he lived and worked, and it was more about, I guess, his relationship to his art than it would be about like how he made it and like the people in his life, which I liked a lot. I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything because I still did learn quite a bit. I didn't know about his painting. I didn't know about his visual art stuff.
Did you like his Did you like his art? I mean, they showed quite a lot of
awesome.
A lot of the art that they showed has never been seen before. This is all.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
His paintings were amazing, and I think like the film stuff that he did too was really, really cool.
Yeah.
This movie just left me feeling like happy to have had someone like this be a part of the world at some point, but also a little me was going like, wow, like this is something that I really missed out on. I think that it's so rare and far between that we get artists like that. Like, you look back and it's I can pinpoint specific people where I'm like, you're bigger than just the music. People like David Bowie, bands like Pink Floyd, where it's like there was more there than just you had such a hold on the world at some point.
Yeah.
And yeah, it really got to me. This was a really, really fantastic piece. I loved it a lot. I loved the little animations that they had throughout. I think it added a lot to it. I loved the remastered tapes. Looked amazing. I mean, some of those concert things looked like they could have been filmed yesterday.
Yeah.
Just really, really impressive. And maybe because you know more about David Bowie than I did, you were left disappointed because you didn't learn as much. But I still feel like I learned a massive amount more than I knew.
Well, it's not to say that we didn't. I mean, I think there's about halfway through you kind of get the revelation that he admits that he's was a very insecure person, and that Ziggy and all those characters were him hiding. He was very afraid for people to see the real him. Once he kind of let go of that, he said he experienced both highs and lows. It was tough to see him kind of slam his 80s stuff. I mean, there's a fantastic performance of Let's Dance in the film. And then not shortly after there, in his own words, you hear him say that period in his career was kind of empty and shallow, and he felt like he wasn't at his best and not doing work that he was super proud of. And as somebody who grew up in the 80s and loved Let's Dance and that, I mean, don't get me wrong, I can take Modern Love and China Girl and Let's Dance and go, listen, that is a different aspect of Bowie and a different part of his life. It's always sad to hear an artist go, I felt like I was selling out a little bit there. And he was. He went from this underground cultish guy to a very mainstream rock artist. But anyone who followed Bowie knows that even though after he never experienced that success anymore after that 80s time, he still went on to do a tremendous amount of work, even though it wasn't as commercially successful. And I challenge anyone to go and listen to the few albums that he did do after that peak in the 80s, early 90s. And it's some great work.
I think like a month or two before he passed, he released his final album called Black Star in I think 2016.
Yeah.
And it was one of the most critically acclaimed albums of that year. It was really well received. Super. It was one of those things where it was like he knew it was his last album. Yeah. And that was one of my favorite parts too. Was just the ending where you get like the music video of him, kind of like taking those last steps, and you hear like the song playing, and that got to me too because I lived through that. I remember when that came out and being like, wow, like this is powerful stuff.
Yeah.
So that was a really great moment for me as well.
Yeah. I think he probably said it best in the movie. I was looking at all the quotes because there were so many that are memorable.
So many great ones.
He said, "When you feel comfortable with yourself, you can no longer write," and that's kind of, I guess, maybe true for an artist. We learn a little bit about his relationship with his brother. Iman, his wife of 15 years, is mentioned slightly at the end. But if you go in for the music and you go in to hear the man speak in his own words about his process, it is well worth it. And I also, if for some reason you were just one of those people who went, David Bowie, oh, yes, Let's Dance in China Girl, some of this music is absolutely fantastic to see and maybe discover for the first time. Because it's not quite as deep a documentary as I would like, and I was still hoping for a little more behind the scenes. I also felt a couple of the visuals got a little bit repetitive. If I'd seen that planet cross over the moon one more time, I was like,
I like that a lot.
I was just like, you've done this 4 times now.
Right, yeah.
Not quite sure what you're saying, Brett. But this is still absolutely worth seeing. I don't think it's going to hold up on a TV without a sound system. It has to be.
Yeah, go see it in theaters.
It's got to be loud and big. I'm going to give Moonage Daydream a B+ for me.
Okay. I'm going to give Moonage Daydream a 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. All right. So
that's really, really great stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Now, were you a Bowie fan going in? And it's okay if you weren't. Were you a bigger Bowie fan coming out, or did nothing change?
Well, I mean, I do like David Bowie a lot. I don't want to be that guy that's like, I'm a big David Bowie fan, because I haven't taken the time to really go through his discography and all that. I know all the big hits.
Right.
But I love the stuff that I have heard. Mm-hmm. I really do love The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust is a fantastic album. I have heard that in full.
Right.
Got some great songs on it. So I came in knowing that I liked his stuff. I knew there was some stuff of his that I wasn't as big of a fan of.
Right.
But I think I came out just appreciating him as a person way more, just of like the way that he lived his life. I really liked the way that he talked about his philosophy on how things are and stuff.
Yeah.
And just watching him kind of not being comfortable enough to admit when he felt like he didn't do his best, I think is a really important thing for people to do. Yeah. I just like that about him a lot, and I would say I came out a bigger fan than I was going in.
All right. Rolling Stone magazine called him the greatest rock star of all time. David Bowie.
That's pretty. Yeah, I could see that.
I'm not gonna argue against it. It's the Parental Guidance Neglected podcast. Regan Burns, Jackson Burns, agreeing once again. Do you think people like when we agree? Do you think that gives them the warm fuzzies? Like, oh, they're father and son.
I think,
or are they just begging? Are they just begging us to just be
when
like,
it comes to the internet?
Mind?
When it comes to the internet, I think people are just waiting for a fight to break out. I think that's and I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm really hoping that doesn't happen for this next movie. I'm holding on a little bit.
And that could go either way. I think people have this feeling that I hate things that you like, and then not vice versa. And we don't know. We don't know how this is going to play. You know, I mean, we really don't.
We haven't talked about it much. We do agree a lot on a lot of movies. Like, there's a lot we agree on. We just don't happen to talk about it. I mean,
right. I mean, once you agree, you go, hey, do you love it? I loved it. You loved it? Great.
Right, move on.
There's nothing there's nothing to argue about. So that's why I'm wondering if people are like, oh, I'm just waiting for like.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good point.
I'm waiting for Regan to go. Vin Diesel is amazing in that, and and Jackson's just like, what?
What are you saying?
He'll never top Fast and the Furious 7. So.
Yeah.
It was, as we do here once a month on the PGN podcast, Jackson's Week, to pick a classic film. Use that title lightly, or a film that is critically acclaimed, which this most definitely was, that neither of us have seen, and in true Jackson fashion. And I will preface this by saying, this is a Paul Schrader movie. He's not
Thank you. I appreciate that.
He's not exactly some closet filmmaker, director, writer. He wrote Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, Last Temptation of Christ. Obviously, Scorsese loves him. He wrote and directed First Reformed, which is actually a really good Ethan Hawke movie. You're a big Ethan Hawke fan.
Yeah, I gotta watch that. It's on my list.
Affliction, which I liked with Nick Nolte. He wrote and directed Cat People. He actually, one of his first movies, he wrote and directed American Gigolo with Richard Gere that I just watched. It's been turned into a series on Showtime, and I just watched the first episode last night. Probably watched the last episode last night too. It was not great.
Ooh, that's rough.
Yeah, but the movie's American Gigolo is not a bad film. So Paul Schrader, my hat off to Paul Schrader. He's done.
He can write a film. He can write a damn film.
He's a fantastic writer. He's or maybe he's not an okay director. Let's see what I thought. Jackson dug up this 1986 film, or 85 or 86, called Mishima, A Life in 4 Chapters. So, if I am correct, Jackson, what is the guy's name? Yukio
Mishima.
Yukio Mishima is one of the most acclaimed writers in all of Japan, or was, before his untimely death. He was a writer, model, actor, playwright. He did movies. Director.
He did one movie, which I did watch, by the way. I did watch his short film.
Okay, I did not. And then it appears, if I have my history, you might have researched this more, he became a bit of a political activist and commentator who ended up starting his own, he will call it a private army. It, to me, felt like a cult.
It was like a militia, is the best way I can put it.
It's almost like all the people gathered outside the Capitol on January 6th trying to start a revolution.
You're right.
But they were actually organized, had uniforms, and were out.
The Japanese military allowed them to train with them because of their they were nationalists. They were Japanese nationalists.
Okay. So, where do I start?
On his last day, but just to get the full story, the day that he died, him and 4 of his highest ranked military members went into a government building and took one of the, I think it was the general hostage, and requested an audience from all the military members, and said that if they didn't get an audience, he would kill himself and the general. And so the whole military people came outside the building, and he started telling them and trying to get them to rally. It was an attempted coup. They would not listen to him. They screamed him down, and as his last act, he committed seppuku.
Right.
How he died.
Which is when you, for those who don't know, you disembowel yourself, just rake the sword across your sides, and simultaneously someone beheads you at the exact moment. The film is about this guy. And he was, from what I can take from the film at least, a pretty sick individual. And I don't mean sick as necessarily, evil or twisted. Sick is that he had a lot of mental issues. The movie definitely wrestles with his bisexuality, or possible just homosexuality, but his wrestling with himself. A good part of the film also has to do with he had a very big obsession with beauty and body image. He got very into weightlifting and bodybuilding. He felt very discouraged that we all eventually, in his words, become ugly, and art and beauty need to be intertwined, and so he was constantly fighting the age process. We dabble a little bit into his early childhood and some of the events that might have led to his thinking this way. The film, and I will give it credit, the most interesting aspect, I think, is what they do with the color palettes. It's very obvious that everything that's in present time, which is basically the story of them taking the general hostage and the eventual suicide, is done in very muted colors, very naturalistic. Any flashbacks to his earlier life are all in black and white. And then there are 3 different books that he wrote from, that segments of those books are recreated and told in very bright, vibrant Technicolor.
Production design on those were insane too. That was just like very stylized.
Very, very, maybe over stylized for me at part. They're all done on sound stages. They're very fantasy oriented. It's very surreal, very arty. And obviously the chapters or the segments from those books they do really are a reflection on part of his life, whether it be the first one, which is really about beauty and what is beauty and deformities. The second one being more wrestling with, I think, his bisexualness and his feelings about sex in general. And then the third one, which is almost him telling what his army is going to do, a fantasy of taking...
it's basically just his plan.
It's basically his plan, but now we just see it as though it was more romantic. And it's one of the coolest aspects is that when he kills himself, or the character kills himself in the fantasy, it's this very romantic with the sun setting and the colors and the red, and I'm doing it for the country and the emperor. When you see it in real life, he's just pushing some folders and telephones off some dirty carpet and doing it in a room with a bunch of people staring at him that are confused and lost
horrified.
Souls. Yeah, horrified.
I will say too, there was the one section where he's on a soundstage and he's pretending to stab himself with a sword, and then he goes cut.
Right.
That was the short film that he directed that I watched.
Yeah, I assume that was the film. Yeah.
Which was it was called Patriotism, and it was a silent film actually, told in a little soundstage about a man who does a failed coup d'état and comes back to his wife, and they both decide to kill themselves together. And so it's basically, and he stars in it. He's the star and writer director. Very good. It was actually very, very good. But yeah,
obviously this guy was a very interesting individual. He was very obsessed with many themes. His hatred for capitalism, his hatred of a lot of self-loathing, a lot of questioning of art and what it takes to be an artiste, I should say. He's a fascinating portrait, and it's a story that is definitely intriguing. The film does not always work for me.
Okay.
The first half definitely did not.
Okay.
I did not. I really, really had to push through the first half of this movie. I didn't find the Golden Pavilion story all that exciting, with the guy who there was a stutterer and a guy who limped, and it was all about getting laid, and you can be beautiful without having a great body. You could win women over. And again, then the second story, the Kyoko's house, the older woman and the younger man, and violence starts to come into play, and he was a very dark, twisted soul, I think. Not to mean he didn't write some incredible things, but I didn't really connect with it at all. The second half of the film, when we get into the fantasy of the coup d'etat and the reality of it, I found, especially watching those two kind of back to back and finally getting to Pen and Sword, where it actually is the coup d'etat, I found that much more interesting than all that hyperbole about working out and I must make the temple of the body and how art and beauty.
What was your favorite chapter?
The last one. I did not care for the first three chapters really dealt with those fantasy stories. I liked Pen and Sword when it was the end, and it was pretty much the tension of the actual event and just feeling how real it was. And then, of course, there was a little tag at the end where they kind of go back and show the romantic one, the romantic idea of, what do you call it, seppuku? Seppuku, compared to. I think
harakiri might be different.
Harakiri, yeah, what they say. Listen, I really feel a lot of this film is over-directed. I feel like they're trying a little too hard. I appreciate the crazy set designs. I appreciate there's a funny moment in there when he talks about how we have to make sure this film can be marketed to the French because the French love shadows.
Yeah.
And then I just felt like going, that's what the whole first hour and a half of this film was a set that took 20 hours to light exactly a certain way. And I get that. That's the fantasy of the fiction that he's writing. It felt really self-indulgent at times. I felt at times like Paul Schrader was like, look at me. And I wanted the story to be more integral than the visual landscape, because he was obviously a fascinated and very dimensional, and like I said, I think very twisted and demented mind. I would have appreciated more of that than I would of all the styles. I'm hammering. This is your pick, Jackson, and I have a feeling it might have resonated with you a little bit more than me.
So I watched the movie.
I'm not bashing it. Hey, that's a good thing.
I know.
Right?
No, I know. You're. I don't have an issue with what you said.
Okay.
I finished the movie, and my first thought, say what you will about the movie, was what the fuck happened to biopics? Because right. Say what you will, but I feel like recently it's been so formulaic, of just like pick a good performance and that's the movie. The movie is the performance. You watch Bohemian Rhapsody because of the portrayal of Freddie Mercury by the actor.
Well,
you watch Elvis because of Austin Butler.
I would say Elvis is a little bit different. I would also point out Moonage Daydream, which we just reviewed.
That was a documentary, though.
Right. And I
don't count that.
And
as
I thought Rocket Man actually was done pretty well, and not your typical biopic. I mean, I know you don't like musicals, but I thought it was a little bit outside the box. But yes, I will agree with you. Most mainstream biopics are going to be Jamie Foxx's Ray, Joaquin Phoenix's Johnny Cash. I get that.
It's just been so much, and I just felt like this is the first. I mean, look, I guess credit where credit's due. Baz Luhrmann tried to do something creative. It was one of the biggest directorial flops I've ever seen, but he made an attempt to do something creative. But listen,
send all your hate mail to him.
This was so original and poetic and beautiful and horrible in every way. One of the biggest things, one of the best parts of the movie that I'm actually not too surprised you didn't say anything, but the score is so good. The score is so good.
Philip Glass, who does a lot of Scorsese stuff. He did Kundun. He does a lot of operas. He's pretty acclaimed. He's been nominated a few times. Phil Glass. He's a very minimalistic composer. It's not bombastic and and horns. It's very minimalistic. Yeah.
And I love that about it. It was fantastic. I really love this. I know that's a big shocker. But this was very much my thing.
Yeah.
I feel like I could watch this a million times and never really, still be learning from it.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is from all the Paul Schrader movies that I've seen, this is his best written, in my opinion. I think the writing is just fantastic.
Okay.
Really, really, really great. His portrayal of Mishima as this tortured soul is something that's so special, and finding ways to incorporate that with the writing, with Mishima's own words, is so great. Mm-hmm. I thought the performance was also really, really good. Not in like the Bohemian Rhapsody way where it takes over everything. I really, really loved this guy's portrayal of Mishima himself. He really felt like him, especially because I did watch his short film that he made beforehand, so I did kind of get to see the real guy in action.
Right.
There's just a lot. There's so much that I could say. The cinematography, the production design, the writing, the directing, every moment of this film had me grabbed. I got slightly emotional towards the ending, just watching all the parallels come back to the stories that he wrote as he's committing suicide, watching him become each person, but in a far more pathetic and disturbing way than I think that he intended to. Mm-hmm. There's a million things I can say. The changing of black and white to color when he's up in the plane. Watching him try to yell at these military men and just not being heard for the first time in his life. Was so.
I enjoyed the last chapter of it, and I wish. I have to be honest with you. I feel like if I could have stripped away the 3 stories, I know that seems like that's the whole film, but
it was my favorite part of the film.
I just felt like that was a bit indulgent.
Personally, my favorite chapter was the 3rd chapter. I like that one a lot, where the story of the guy who does the failed coup d'état.
The failed coup. Yeah, I agree. That's where the movie took off. I told you the first 2.
I love that a lot. I think it looked the best. I just could not get enough of this movie, and I can't stop thinking about it. I just can't.
I can't.
It's so really. Can't. You can't. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. It's just it really affected me. Just I don't know. There's just something really special to me about trying to tell the story of this guy through his own art and making parallels to it, and it really, really, really just hit me like really hard. So,
okay.
Loved this movie. Yeah.
Paul Schrader said that he feels his best directing job. He said of all his films that he's directed, he thinks this is the one he was best at. He does not agree with the writing. He still thinks that Taxi Driver is probably his best screenplay. I saw that interview with him. I understand everything that where you're coming from. I have to also look at it from an entertainment and an interest, if it's holding my interest view. I could look at something and go, man, that set took a long time to set up. That is a beautiful shot. I get everything that you're saying, but is it holding my interest, and is it doing service to the story and the man? I feel like he lost his way a little bit.
I really disagree with you on that.
On halfway through, and then kind of gets back. I'm not saying I would have liked more of a biopic. I think sometimes he got a little too fancy, and it got in his way.
But I think that was what important though, because without having that extreme stylized fantasy, like claustrophobic set feel, like once it transfers back to the real life, it wouldn't have that like stark contrast. Like that was a necessary step, I think.
I get it. I get all of it. It just did not resonate for me. Mishima, A Life in 4 Chapters, is a really well done film that succeeds, I'm sure, in every aspect of what it was trying to do. Whether or not it resonates with me, it was hit and miss. That's why I'm gonna meet it right in the middle.
Okay.
With a C.
I'll take that.
Okay.
Honestly, I'll take that. I was. If you got into D territory, we would have had some really serious issues.
No. It's incredibly well crafted filmmaking, and I get it. I don't want to feel ever like I'm on the set watching Paul Schrader set up the scene And I felt like that a lot for the first half. Also, by the way, I don't know if Paul Schrader speaks Japanese or not, but kudos to any American who can make a 2-hour-plus film in Japanese.
Oh, no, seriously, that was really impressive.
I don't know how you... I mean, like, I would literally, when I was... If I'm watching Japanese actors talk in Japanese and then I go, cut, I'd be like, did they get the lines right? I kind of feel the emotion, but did anyone miss anything? I'd be like, I don't. I'm hoping he must speak some Japanese. Otherwise, I just don't know how you do like that.
Yeah,
and side note, just interesting, Francis Ford Coppola and George Lucas
produced this. Yeah,
both produced it. So a lot of great heads went into this. When it came out, Paul Schrader said he knew it was never going to play in the United States. It was a passion project, and I tip the hat to anyone who puts this much heart and time into something that in the back of his mind goes, I know this is never going to make any money. And I don't think it did. But so is it a 10 or a 10, 11? Are you going 11 on this one, or what are you?
It's a 10. It's by far not even close to the best biopic I think I've seen. To be fair, I haven't seen that many. There's a lot I haven't seen, but just for me personally, I have not yet to see a portrayal of a character that lived in real life done this well.
Did you ever see Deuce Bigalow, Male Gigolo?
What is that?
That's the biopic with Rob Schneider about I think that's a real story, right? Where he's a male.
Is that real?
No, it's not.
I can't tell if you're doing the bit or not. I was like, this is real.
No, that was a horrible, horrible 90s comedy.
Oh, okay, gotcha. No, but this was this knocked out of the park. I just couldn't believe it. I will be thinking about this for the week.
Well, it is available on the Amazon Prime if anyone wants to check it out. I give
or
it
Criterion if you have that for whatever reason.
Yep. There it is. Once again, Jackson picking a movie that nobody has ever heard of. Listen, hey, your trajectory is getting better. Okay, you set the bar for me. You set the bar pretty low out of the gate. I feel like we're moving in the right. I'm hoping that the next month. I'm hoping you're gonna have something where I go, okay. This is something. This is something I really look. I love that.
We'll see. I'll have to find. I'm proud of myself for picking this. This was a good pick in my eyes. But we'll see. I'll have to check it out a little bit. I haven't made my mind up yet.
All right. Well, leave your comments on the YouTube channel if you're watching us here, and make sure to subscribe and like, and you can tell Jackson how right or wrong he is about all his pretentious art house picks at our Instagram account, Parental Guidance Neglected PGN Podcast. Also, make sure to follow Jackson on Instagram and Twitter at Jackson N. That's N as in Nancy Burns. I'm on the Insta at Regan.Burns. And you can put all your hate mail on that. Jackson, I think if this is okay with you, next week, we're about due, I have 2 proposals for you. Okay. Over the next 2 weeks. Obviously, we're going to see another great film next week, recommended by you, and we have not narrowed that down yet because I can't find the document that has it. But I'll put something up, and we will be watching a classic film that we have not seen, selected by our audience as well next week. But I think it's about time to bring trivia back.
All right.
I think it's time for 3 challenging trivia questions. 3 Jackson will pose to me, 3 I will pose to him, and we'll see who wins trivia next week. The following week, so I want to give Jackson 2 weeks to put this together. We teased this a couple weeks ago. Will be our first ever top 10 list. Top 10 list. Okay. I'm going to give Jackson 2 weeks to start to put together his list because he's very busy. He's got classes.
And is this a top 10 of all time? Or are we doing more specific? What's the plan?
No, it's a specific. It's coming. I'm going to give you a choice of 3 top 10s. I mean, we'll come back to some at one point. But 3 top 10 films that we will announce or we will do in 2 weeks. Before I get to those, and we'll figure out which one we're going to do, next week, new movies. The big one opening up. Oh boy, we were excited, and the reviews have been out for early screenings, and the excitement is died a bit, but it's finally Olivia Wilde's movie, Don't Worry, Darling, with her love boy Harry Styles and Florence Pugh and Chris Pine. So that will be the big movie that we see hopefully in theaters next week. Jackson's a student. I'm going to try to get out and see The Woman King, which I could not see this weekend. But by the way, getting great reviews. Apparently, apparently not just a great drama, but a really great epic battle film. And I still want to see Pearl, which is the prequel to Ty West's X earlier. So I don't know, maybe if Jackson has a slow week, he'll sneak in one or two of those as well. But I think we'll both try to see Don't Worry, Darling, and we'll be back with your pick for a classic film, as well as our third round of trivia. So Jackson, in 2 weeks, top 10 lists. Are you ready? Tell me which ones you want to start with, or which one. Top 10 movies that molded your childhood.
Okay.
Top 10 movies that had you laugh out loud.
Okay.
Top 10 surprise movies you thought you'd hate, but either really enjoyed or loved.
I like the molded your childhood one.
Childhood, okay. So we will say in 2 weeks, we will have the top 10 movies that molded, and I think that's like your childhood and your teens. You know, they got you.
Yeah, for sure.
They got you to 18. So instead of saying like, oh, it was the Wiggles, and then it's no, top 10 movies. Top 10 movies that got you from 0 to 18 that made you love film, appreciate film, had an effect on you, moved you, made you look at life differently, whatever it is. The top 10 films that you saw in the first 18 years of your life. That work for you?
That works for me. All right, cool.
You got 2 weeks to put that list together.
And next week is trivia week.
Next week's trivia. And I believe I've won both times.
You did not win the first time. That was so
I won the first time,
criminally unfair.
And I believe I won the second.
Unfair.
I believe I won the second time as well.
Did you win the second time?
I don't know. I'll have to check the archives. In my brain,
I thought we tied.
We might have tied, but in my brain, I think I won.
Well, your brain isn't always right.
And ties are normally split by whoever is older.
That's never been the rule. I don't think.
That's not how it works. That's how it works. Are you? You have the rest of the day. Are you seeing any films today? I think I'm filmed out today.
I was supposed to go to a double feature today. Actually.
No.
Apocalypse Now into Reservoir Dogs, but
my God, I'm not
gonna have time.
That's too much for a Sunday.
I'm not gonna have time. Maybe I'll peek in to see Reservoir Dogs, but I don't even know if I'm gonna do that. I've got work to do. I've got to edit this down. So probably just stay in night for me.
Oh, look at you, nice and relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
How about you?
I don't know. I'm gonna maybe curl up. I'm still watching that House of Dragons. I guess I'll maybe a bit more of that. Or I don't know. I'm caught up on The Patient. Yeah. Check that out on Hulu. That's getting more and more interesting. Steve Carell.
Interesting.
All right. I guess until next time, please continue to email us your thoughts on the PGN podcast. Hi, look at that. Your mother's over there waving at me. Did you have anything you want to say? You want to guest star today on the... Nope. No, I'm getting the big head shake no.
Ooh, the big head shake.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
She's writing out a sign. She's holding it up. I'd love to, but I really don't want to get into it with that bitch of a son.
Ooh.
You know what? I'm not gonna go on to what's the rest.
Did she? Okay. Well, first of all, Did she watch Mishima with you?
I don't think you want to know your mother's reaction to Mishima.
That's not true.
Suddenly she pipes in. Let's put it this way. Your mother cannot have a reaction to that film until she stays awake past the first 5 minutes of that film. I think yeah. But
Mom.
to her credit, we started pretty late.
Okay, yeah. What'd you think about the Adrian Brody one?
She enjoyed it. I think she enjoyed C. What would you give C How You Run?
I would say a C+.
She said C+. I said B. So I enjoyed it a little bit. I enjoyed it a little bit more than her. I think like I said, murder mystery, but I give it more credit because of the great acting. Great acting sometimes.
Right.
It's
yeah.
You know what? It's a C film. I elevate it because of the acting.
It'll get you there. That's fair enough.
Yeah. All right. Until next time, I am Regan Burns. This is
the PGN pod. Wait, Jackson Burns. I'm sorry, you cut out, and I did not know what you said.
You know what? Why don't we just?
All I heard was this is, and I was like, this is the PGN podcast.
Hopefully the music is coming up right now because we just need to get
put
out.
it in.
Put it in. Love you, buddy. See you next time.
Love you too. Bye.
Bye.